Welcome back to another episode of The Goodall Show, where we learn how to grow, motivate you to grind, and encourage you to give. I am James Goodall, your host, of course, and today we're going to talk about the 4-hour work week for the book of the week. But before that, we are going to talk about pricing, talk about spring cleanups, talk about mowing, because mowing we start next week. And I'm busy, and you're busy, and recording a podcast is not the easiest thing to do when you're busy like this. Hope you guys are busy. Hope you guys have gotten out there and gotten some jobs, because we have done a lot of jobs. We weren't able to do the past 2 weeks. We were only able to work 2 days because of the rain. We were able to do almost every day this week. We might not be able to mow tomorrow, work tomorrow because it's supposed to snow like a half an inch, so we're not going to be able to do anything tomorrow. But we are in the midst of it. Like I told you before, we are growing. We are at the point of growth, and I'm excited. This week, 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. This isn't in my top 10, but it's definitely in my top 20. It says escape 9 to 5, live anywhere, and join the new rich. I don't know if I agree with everything in this book. I do know that it's a thick book, and it is a very detailed book. But this is what I've said before, and this is the main thing that I got out of this book. The golden nugget is it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much time you have. It's about how much time and freedom you have. Some people, like I've said before, make $250,000 a year, work 7 days a week, have a nice car and a nice house, and never get to enjoy it except for 4 weeks out of the year. Other people make $75,000 a year, can take off whenever they want, don't work in the winter, don't do anything, can decide what to do, when to do, how to do it, and they control their lives. They have all the freedom in the world. So who's actually better off? Who actually has more freedom there? So that's the golden nugget out of there. He goes into a lot of detail, and I think it will help a lot of people. But I wouldn't, if this is the first book you read for business and self-improvement, I wouldn't recommend that. I read this last year. I've read 70, 80 books before that. I love this book, but that's the gold nugget out of it. We're going to have a conversation with Logan, graduated college, 22 years old, started his company, I think he had 6 yards starting last year. I don't know where he's at now. He was farming, and he messaged me and told me his dad had passed away with cancer, and they decided not to farm anymore, and he's going into building this business. So we'll see how he's doing, see if we can help him. But I appreciate you guys listening. Hit that subscribe button. We almost at 2,200 subs. Dude, we're about to catch Mr. Beast. We're about to catch Mr. Beast. That's the goal, to catch Mr. Beast. If you don't know who Mr. Beast is, you're just on another planet. But conversation with Logan. Hope this helps. If you enjoy it, share it.
Hello.
Hey, Logan. How's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I didn't give you a heads up I was calling, but I appreciate you answering my call, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was expecting. I came inside just here shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know it's a busy time. I don't know if you're busy. Are you busy around this time?
Yes, sir. We're starting to kick off here. Grass really started growing here recently. So, really this first week, I really started cutting full time.
Okay. So this past week was the first time you cut full time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from what I got, you're 22 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've been doing it a little bit off and on. And last year was your first year doing it, kind of, or no?
Yes, yeah. So last year, I believe it was end of June, July. I'd always had a few yards when I was growing up, cutting on the side for people, and it wasn't really much of anything. But then last year, which we were still farming at that point, but at end of June, I kind of wanted to cut more yards, see how more yards I could get because I had some more time. So that's kind of when I really kind of took it a little more serious. And then this past January, February, I filed for LLC, and kind of this is the first official year, you could say.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe you can go into a little more detail. So what I got is you graduated from, a Christian school with a bachelor, right? And you're farming. Your family is a farmer, right? Farming family. Explain how you got into the business, how you were a farmer, where you grew up, and all that.
Yeah. So from right here in Winterville, North Carolina. So grew up on a farm. Daddy grew tobacco back in the early 2000s. And then he kind of shifted over just to grain farming, so kind of grew up on the farm, working that job. And then of course I worked other jobs during the summer because farming grain, during the summer there's not so much to do other than kind of spraying occasionally. So I'd work at a golf course, kind of cut some grass there, and worked other jobs. Worked with kind of wherever I could get could find. And then and like I said before, I'd always had like a few yards that I'd cut. And then last year we had a farm, and my dad passed away, so we kind of decided to get out of farming. It wasn't kind of what it used to be, and financially we felt like it was the best move. So I kind of shifted over from farming just recently, like kind of last year, to really going out and trying to get more yards and kind of starting this landscaping business or a lawn care business.
Gotcha. And did you enjoy farming, but it just wasn't making the money, or did you just not like it at all, and there was no money to be made?
Oh, and I mean, yeah, I enjoy farming. Like, I mean, I even say now, like, if I could farm, to the day I died, I'd love to do that. It's something I've always enjoyed. But since it's kind of one of those things you have to be diversified in, and we kind of weren't at that point, and it was just kind of the best move for us to do to kind of get out this last past year.
Gotcha. And then how many acres and stuff did you have? Like, how big was this farm?
We were farming, I think at the most, I think they had like a little over 1,000 acres. And we didn't. We kind of tended a lot. We only own we still own our farm here. We just rent out to some friends this year. We own about a little over 200 acres, but we tended the rest.
Okay.
At least it.
And then you said your dad passed away. What did he have a long standing illness, or just was it all of a sudden, man?
Cancer. Cancer.
Okay.
He was died fall, and then the year later, yes, sir.
Sting, man. Okay, what kind of cancer was it?
It was a rare form. It started as like a carcinoma in his with inside his, like, I think it was inside his liver, and then it kind of spread to his lungs, and it was just a really kind of fast, rare form of cancer that that's described it as.
That's got to be tough, man, dude. I'll be thinking about that for sure, man, because losing somebody, especially your father, man. My dad's 70. It's not gonna be 30 years from now. It's gonna be coming around the corner. So, man, dude, that's tough. So that happened last year. I mean, dude, you got to be in a crazy space. But then you decide, hey, we're gonna stop farming and we're gonna start this company. What is some of the fears that you have of starting this company, or you feel like you got it under control?
Well, yeah, of course, there's hesitations I had. Like I said, which I do have a brother. He moved away and works a job in Raleigh, which is a few hours away from here. It's the capital.
Okay.
But he did his thing, and then, like I said, I decided I want to cut grass full time. And I mean, like I said, there was hesitations, but I felt like I could for sure kind of grow it to a good size, because just kind of people I know. I had some good friends in the landscaping kind of business who I knew could help me out if I needed something or such as that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, let me know. But I have another question for you. What kind of equipment do you have right now? Are you ready to go? Are you focusing? Do you want to focus on mowing? Do you want to focus on landscaping? Is it a rural area? Because I know you're in the farming. You're in a place where you're farming 200 acres. So how does it work? I mean, what are you looking to do?
So yeah, so when we kind of shifted from farming, of course, like all the equipment that kind of was sold, that was kind of, my mom was kind of in charge of that, because she has all of that. But last year I did buy by myself. I went out and bought a used like a big 72-inch diesel mower, John Deere, kind of mow these big properties that I had, because I kind of like mowing bigger properties,
Yeah.
And it was just kind of basically just kind of running over the mower. It wasn't really like weed eating. I just spray Roundup around everything if I could possibly do
Gotcha.
that. And then I started getting kind of some more residential places. And I was like, all right, this mower's too big for these little places. So this past February, I got like a small stand-on mower.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've kind of mainly, like I said, just cutting. I've really just kind of focused on cutting grass. But a couple of weeks ago, I got a few landscaping jobs that I'm still working on, because I have to wait for. I'm working like a doing around a pool. A woman wants stuff done like that around her pool. But I knew once grass starts growing, I wouldn't really have time to do the landscaping jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of how it was for us the last 3 years, right? We were so focused on building our mowing routes and mowing list that we really didn't have much time to do, landscape jobs. So, how many yards are you at now, or how many properties are you at now? And Are they big? You have a couple big ones. You said. What are
Yeah.
you at right now?
Yeah, so like I said, last year I had maybe like six, so like it wasn't really much of anything. But then I have 36 now individual, and I have a few lots like a bush hog with a tractor. So we did keep some equipment.
Yeah.
So we have the bush hog, and I'll run over those lots, like just a couple of times whenever needed. But
Yeah.
just yards, I have 36 yards that I do.
Really? So you said you had six. Like, was that like at the beginning of last year or at the end of last year?
At the beginning, probably into June, July, I had like 6 or 7. That's including hours, which ours takes about 3 hours just to farm here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I had probably maybe close to 10. It was some people that kind of on and off whenever they needed, but yeah, it was under 10 right when I started,
Okay.
and then I then ending last year I had about maybe close to 20, 18 or 20, and then my goal was this year was to get 30, which I already have.
You knocked that goal out. Look at that, man. That's what's up.
Yeah.
How did you get these? I mean, how did you go from 6 yards to where you're mowing last year? You started the season with 6. Now you're starting this season with 36. Like, how did you get these yards?
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of. I mean, last year just kind of happened naturally. It was kind of just by word. I didn't really have to go out that much, but I did go out a lot and try to talk to people, and I did get a few of those. Just go. If I was mowing a lot, I'd see the house beside it. If I'd see grass growing up, I'd walk over there.
Yeah.
Just knock on the door, kind of that kind of deal. But this year, all these recent ones I've got, I was kind of worried because last February I was like, all right, I need to get 30 yards. Because that was my goal. So I was trying to think about flyers. I watched some of your videos on flyers and stuff. I was like, all right, I got to do that.
Yeah.
But then before we really ordered them, I already had 30 yards before I knew it. So I was like, well, all right, well.
How many can you handle, you think? Like, do you mow these by yourself, for one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then how many, like, can you handle any more, or you're like, this is the max?
Well, yeah, that's the problem running into the last pass. Just I'm realizing right now, this is the max for me right now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the situation I am now with, like, if I'm going to hire somebody, it's going to be somebody that kind of rides with me in like weed eats or mowers, and vice versa, or get somebody that can go off and do their own. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I need to do there.
Yeah, and some people. Yeah, go ahead, my bad.
No, you can go. You can go.
Well, I think some people like 30. Like for me, 35 yards. Like we can do. I could do probably 35 yards maybe in like 2.5 days. But like the yards are smaller and they're like kind of close. Close together. So like for you, like if you have some bigger properties, yeah, like 36 yards, man, you can't do much more by yourself. And like hiring somebody, if you think, hey, can I go from 36 to like 56? If I hired a guy, we could get all these done. Yeah, so that's crazy, man. Like that's your goal was 30, and then you hit that already. So you basically just word of mouth, and that's what people ask me sometimes. They're like, hey, how do I get yards? I'm like, well, like just pass out flyers, but sometimes you don't even have to pass out flyers like go out and just pass out flyers. Like while you're mowing in the spring, hey, I'm gonna mow this yard, and then I'm just gonna pass out flyers on this block, and then the next yard go to. And is that the word of mouth and flyers? Is that really the only way that you marketed?
Well, no, I was saying I actually didn't do the flyers because I didn't order them. I had them designed and everything. I just never ordered them.
Nice.
Yeah, so really word of mouth. And like I said, at my church, there's like 2 really big landscaping companies. Those 2 guys that go to my church, and like they were able to give me some referrals, and kind of through them. But a lot of them were just kind of just happen naturally. Believe it or not, it just kind of happens if you just kind of get out there and start cutting grass, and word of mouth.
It really does. Like people are looking for like a lawn company, right? And people will just stop you while you're cutting the grass. Hey, I need my yard cut. Can you do it? And that's why I tell people, like, don't like try to get like 25 yards before you start. Just do 2. And then you're going to be cutting someone's yard, and then someone's going to stop you. Now you have 4 or whatever. So, man, that's insane. So, those 36 yards. Well, I guess back up. Are you looking proactively to hire somebody, or you're kind of like up in the air, like, hey, I might just try to do this year by myself and see what happens?
Yeah, I'm kind of up in the air. I feel like I kind of want to do it by myself this year because I don't have to worry about all the kind of stuff that comes along with hiring somebody and feeling like obligated. I got to keep them bit, all that kind of stuff. Because I think I will be able to get through these yards this year, and you can go from there. But So
Yeah,
just
and I'm sure like in your church, like at least in my church, there's got to be someone like, hey, like let's say it rained or whatever, you got pushed back. Hey, this guy only works like Monday through Thursday. Hey, would you want to make some extra money on a Friday? So you're not like obligated to like pay, have work for him for a full time job. But if you get
yeah.
behind, where's the boundary there where like I could just have one guy help me if I get in trouble. So like, I think, dude, I think that's smart. And then also too, like going by yourself for the first year, I don't think it's like the best way to do it like long term. But for like the first year, learning like pricing and stuff, because you might do these 36 yards and make X amount of dollars, and then you realize, hey, if I could do like 36 yards next year, but make like $300 more a week because I like
Yeah.
got better yards or priced them a little bit better or whatever the case may be. That's where you're going to learn like this first year, and so that's a smart way to go about it. I think some people think, hey, I got to hire somebody right away. Well, not really. You can make good money doing it by yourself, making sure you're understanding the prices.
Oh yeah, and like I said, like 36 yards, like you kind of said earlier, like it's not a lot to some people, but like some of these like properties I have, they do take 1 yard down. Just like really, I can drive my mower down the road to their house amount of it. It takes me like 3 hours just to mow their whole property,
Yeah, yeah,
stuff
exactly.
like that. And so like they are somewhat dense. Some of them I do have a few that I don't like doing because they are have to kind of go into Greenville or they're kind of the way. But I think this year I've kind of got it down to a pretty good route where I can it's not so bad. Um, but of course, I mean, I got one. I think it was one area, one neighborhood this year. Kind of had 5 houses together. It's kind of my first like real like dense area because it's like as you say.
Uh-huh.
So that I mean, that's really I really saw that. Well, you can really knock out some yards here and make some money, and you have it close like that.
Yeah, especially like because in that area that maybe has 500 or whatever homes in that area, could you get 10 of those? Like could you get 0.05% of those homes? Could you keep? That's where like for us when we started building our routes, we passed out flyers in the same area like over and over and over again, like multiple times. Well, we're not trying to pass out flyers like if we already passed out flyers once, we're not trying to go outside of our area to pass out flyers. We're going to pass out flyers again. And people are moving. People are getting too old to cut their grass. So if you pound that flyers, I heard a statement one time, someone's not going to buy your stuff, whatever you're selling, whatever you're offering, until they see your name 7 times, which might not be true. I don't see that completely, but it is kind of true. I had a lady call me yesterday. No, not yesterday, last week. And she's like, hey, I got your flyer here. I'd like to, sign up for lawn care. And I'm like, well, we didn't pass out flyers this year. I'm like, when did you get this? She's like, well, I got it like 2 years ago. And then I got your flyer last year. So I've gotten your flyer over the last couple of years, and I just saved it. So it's like,
Yeah.
that flyer might not work then, or, you don't even have to pass out flyers. But if you are starting to get your name out, you have your website, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have all these things where people start seeing your name. And then who are they going to think of when they need a yard cut or a mulch job or a bushes? They know they see your face, they know who you are. That's who they're going to call. So what is a couple things that you're looking at? You're like, hey, what do I need to not get better at, but I need to learn about this part of the business to grow to the next step.
Um, I probably definitely pricing on some things. I feel like sometimes I kind of want to like shoot myself a little short just because I want to get the job. With some people, but I'm kind of getting better at really pricing jobs and sticking with the price. And if they can't pay it or they don't want to pay it, then I just kind of have to pass it up. I feel like it's one of those things you have to get to. And then probably I'm trying to think. I mean, of course, like I said earlier, being peculiar about the yards I do get, making sure they are, kind of, or go along with the route I have, or are pretty dense with other yards
Yeah.
that I have.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
those are two things that I just have to be aware of, and also just my overall expenses, like how much money I'm spending, like how much diesel am I spending, or how much like just a little small stuff adds up, which I realized just last year, just cutting the few yards I had.
Yeah, pricing is huge because I say like I've said it a couple times like you can't make money cutting grass if you're not smart on like pricing. Like if your pricing is off, you're not gonna make money cutting grass or like at least good money. You can still make money, but now you're
Yeah.
not gonna make money cutting grass if you're not priced right. You're not gonna make money cutting grass if you're not dense. Like if you're driving 30 minutes to mow each in between each yard, you're not going to make any money. And then obviously the equipment, right? Like if you buy a $15,000 mower and you could have spent money $7,000 mower, right? You're wasting it. That's a lot of money that you have to make up. So those three things, and like the pricing is huge, because we had a guy yesterday call, and I told him a price, and he's like, yeah, a couple years ago you did it for like X amount of dollars. And I'm like, well, I remember your yard. I remember how long it took. We were there too long, and prices change, So he's like, I just can't do it. I'm like, okay. Like, I wasn't going to go down. Like, I've done that before, but I know what we're worth. I know how long it takes us, and this is how much it is. Like, you can raise your prices over time, right? Like, if you're charging $50 a man hour or whatever, like if you do the math, well, that's your price. If they want to try to do you down to 45, it's not going to happen. But if as you start getting better, like I can raise my prices to 55 because I'm full, right? Like now you have 36 yards. There's no reason you should be charging, like the minimum now, right? Because you're full. You only have a certain amount of time in the day. So pricing is huge, man. I think a lot of people have trouble with pricing, and that's a big part of it. It's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Is there any?
Sorry, go ahead.
Is there any jobs that come to mind, or like yards that come to mind right now that you say, hey, I like in my mind I'm thinking like I don't know if I'm priced right on this job, this yard, or are all of them pretty good?
Oh, especially like for me, especially for some of the like those first yards I got where those people kind of let me cut their grass. I feel like they're almost kind of doing me a favor, and I'm like, I really don't want to go up on them, but I mean I should. But at the same time, like they're those first couple of yards where I'm going to keep on cutting at that price just because they're easy. It was kind of stuff like that where, for me, with some of the yards I have now, but I might just leave them like the way they are. But I should go up. I don't know.
Yeah, like the grandfathered in, ones that like you're, they're like, you could just do it, whatever. And some of them, like for us, when we were like younger, they would let us do it. But then once we started getting bigger, and like we actually had to charge like the right amount of money, like we can't mow your yard for $17 anymore. I know we used to do it when we were 9 years old, but we can't mow it for $17. Then when we go up, they drop us because they were just kind of doing us a favor, which is fine. We find other yards, but yeah, I remember that. I remember that part where like, dude, you feel bad because you these people helped you out when I was younger or whatever. But now we can't mow your yard for $20. We cannot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's huge. Is there any advice you'd give somebody who's 22 and looking to start, or like they're struggling? They have because you had a family business, right? You had farming and something you love, but it wasn't making any money. You got to make that jump.
Yeah. And the thing is, like farming, like it was making money, but it's just at the point where with farming, you kind of have, if you have one bad year with farming, you have to carry it over, and it can just kind of really, you can blow through some money farming like really quick because you deal with so much money when you're farming, and then you have one bad year financially, and it's kind of really, it might set you back for years just to make up. So it's kind of almost, it's like a lot of a gamble, but yeah, I mean, if you're in a situation where like my advice for somebody who's is getting out of one area and they're going to maybe starting a business or possibly a lawn care business is, there's no like magic thing to do. You really just have to get out there and do it. And it sounds simple, but just get out there and start cutting, start working. If you have a good work ethic and you have, just a good personality when you talk to people and just a nice person and really just kind of, do business right, then people respect that. And a lot of times it would just kind of grow naturally and, just make connections with people. For me, I'm kind of lucky. I kind of go like a decent sized church. I, have a lot of friends there, and so just kind of stuff kind of happens naturally with that. But just kind of get there and just do it. And it sounds simple and just kind of cliche to say that. But
and clearly, the advice you gave is how you built your business. You didn't pass out any flyers. You didn't do any Facebook ads. You didn't do anything, and yet you went from 6 yards to 36 yards. So it's true. Like if you just get out there and start working and start growing, you're going to start making money, I guess one of my last questions for you is the goal to build a lawn care company, or is the goal to eventually get back into farming? Because it seems like you said it a couple times, like you enjoy it. Like what's the goal there?
Well, yeah, the goal is to grow this line. The farming is kind of like we're officially kind of got out of that. Like I said, we sold the
Okay.
equipment, so we're
Okay.
definitely out of farming. So that's kind of just in the past. The future, I really want, like I said, I really want to definitely grow this, to a size where, I mean, not I don't want to be the biggest, but I don't want to be the smallest. I just want to be a size where I'm profitable, make a decent living because I love cutting grass.
Yeah.
I mean, I always have.
Mhm.
I like to grow it to a decent size. And like I said, I don't know exactly like how big that would be, how many crews, how many people, what that would involve. Like I said, I can base it off other companies in the area, but I really can't say what would work for me specifically right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've said it before. My 10-year goal was a lot different 3 years ago. When I took over the company, and I had these goals. I wanted 10 crews. I wanted a $5 million business. Now, I have 2 kids that I want to spend time with, and my goals have changed. And I don't know if I know I don't want a $5 million business. I know I don't want 10 crews. I want to be profitable. I want to have freedom to be able to choose when I work and how I work and how long I work. And then also, I just want the freedom. The book of the week this week is the 4 Hour Work Week. It's by Tim Ferriss, and he talks about it's a long book and everything, but it's a really good one. And he talks about, it's not about how much money you make, right? It's about how much time you have, how much freedom you have. So sometimes, everybody's different. Some people want a $10 million business. Some people they want to cut grass themselves for 30 years and they make good money, So I think just finding that is huge. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have any questions for me, but I do know this. And what church do you go to?
I get a Forest Chapel.
What is it called?
Forest Chapel.
Okay. And what college did you go to?
I went to Wayne Community for 2 years. It's like a small community. Then I went to East Carolina for the remainder two and graduated. With a bachelor's in business management.
Oh, nice.
And then and I think I sent the paragraph I sent you. For 13 years. I went to Greenville Christian Academy here in Greenville. So
Okay. I got you. Yeah, I just wanted to know that before, make sure I knew what church and then what school you went to. But yeah. Do you have a question?
Oh yeah. So I know you talked about your pricing. You kind of you don't do any yards. Kind of, if you have to give their credit card information, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and recently this last past year, I kind of used on Venmo. I just kind of want to know your thoughts like on Venmo and just kind of like. What do you think really is the best way for like somebody like me to for people paying you?
I would say this, right? If I for some reason I woke up tomorrow, like knowing what I know now, but I didn't have any lawns, right? For some reason I just didn't have any lawns. I had my equipment. I would start tomorrow charging cards and getting their debit or credit card with a software program. Whether that be Yardbook or Jobber or for us Service Autopilot. Venmo. So what you mean is you would mow their yard and they would you would text them, hey, I mowed your yard, and they would Venmo you. Is that kind of how you did it, or how did it work?
I mean, yeah, that's just for like a few yards I have. I just like some people that's just how I have it set up with them, and it's just really simple. But I mean, some people pay me cash if they see me, which that's getting kind of kind of old because a lot of times I don't see them or they're I have to. I mean, I don't like driving around trying to collect cash. So
Exactly. Yep.
That's not going to work. But a lot of people do mail me a check, which is great. They'll just mail me a check in the month, and they're pretty consistent with it. I've never had any problems with that, and that's just kind of working great for right now. But
yeah, that's I wouldn't. So I would rather, me personally, especially when you get to 35 or let's say 50 yards, right? Cash. I know people say you should take cash. You don't have to pay taxes. Well, we don't take cash. I mean, we do. I mean, if someone stops us, hey, can you mow my yard? We're mowing someone else's yard. Hey, can you mow my yard? I'll give you $50. Okay, yeah, we'll take the cash. But if they want to be our continuing customer, we're not taking cash because of that problem right there. We got to find them, right? Some people, the cash doesn't get lost, but it doesn't get recorded, and then you then you tell them, hey, you didn't pay us, and then no, I did. I paid your guys. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then the Venmo thing, which is fine. Venmo is whatever. But if I had to do it, I would choose monthly payment by check, or I would do debit or credit card. And the reason why I like debit or credit card is because we can charge them on a weekly basis. We charge them when we mow their yard on, let's say, Thursday, the following Wednesday, whatever day we mow that yard, the following Wednesday, we charge their cards. And it's a push of a button. And then 2 days later, after it goes through the software program we use, they take their 2%, and then they give us on Friday, we get paid. And for cash flow purposes and just like being able to pay, these customers, man, they forget about it. They just do. They forget.
Yeah.
Instead of having to write out if you mow their yard for $40 and for 4 times that month, they got to write out $160. Instead of that, they have to they forget that it's coming out of their check account.
Like
I mean, dude,
Netflix.
It's sweet, man. Yeah, exactly. I mean, dude, like we have like ESPN Plus, and I haven't used it in a month, 2 months, and I don't even know when it comes out. So. And it's bad for me. That's probably a bad thing to say, but like sometimes you just forget about what comes out, So, and then the other thing too is like, hey, can we do your bushes? Sure, put it on the card. Dude, it's so much easier to upsell, and you have to have a software program for it. I don't know if do you have a CRM or software program right now? Hello? Hey, Logan, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I said I don't currently. I'm not right now.
Okay. No, so, yeah, I mean, especially now since you've grown, like 6 yards, you don't need a software program. You could do an Excel or by hand, okay? But now that you have, at 15, 20, now you have 36, you got to get a software program. And like I said, Yardbook's free. I think if you do like the paid version, it's like $40, but like Yardbook, $40 a month. Yardbook is free like at a certain point. Jobbers out there, I've never used Yardbook. I never used Jobber because we had a 200 lawns when we first got our software program. So Service Autopilot was for us. It was good. I love Service Autopilot. I recommend it to everybody that has 50 yards and growing. Right? If you have 50 yards and staying, Yardbook I hear is really good. But just being able to charge cards and being able to email all your clients, right? So like now. If you have, I don't know if you have all their emails on file, right? And for us personally to get in contact with 500 clients that we have, like not mowing every week, but some people we do bushes for or aerations, we can send one email to everybody and said, hey, hey, we're not going to be able to mow your yard this week because of all the rain. We're going to do it next week, right? It's just to call all those people, it would take you a week, And so being able to, first of all, get their emails and then being able to charge cards. And you might not make the decision to charge cards. That's fine. But you got to get a software program. Just whatever it is, it doesn't even matter. It could be a simple one. It doesn't really matter to that. It's just get a software program where you can collect their information and their email, and then being able to eventually, if you want to, charge cards. Does charging cards sound appealing to you, or is it just like it's fine, it's whatever?
I think it definitely does. I feel like convincing the people I have, or I feel like. Well, I guess kind of younger generation would probably be fine, but some of these older clients I have, like, that might be kind of a struggle with them. But moving forward, I feel like, anybody below the age of 40 would probably have no problem with that, honestly.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Okay, and let me take a step back. When we started charging cards 3 years ago, I guess this is the fourth season now. So four seasons ago, all of the 170 clients that we had, we didn't make them charge cards. We didn't say we said, hey, we didn't even say anything to them. we sent out an email. We sent out an email saying, hey, if you would like, we have this option of charging your cards. And some people did, but anybody moving forward that we added, you cannot be our customer unless you give us your debit or credit card. And I thought that there's going to be like 50-50. Like, hey, no, I can't do that. I was like, whatever. And then I found out real quickly that it was like 0.1% of the people said, no, I can't do that. And then if they said no, then we didn't do their yard. But it's funny, I was talking to a lady last week, and I guarantee you they're probably 65, 70. And I was like, yeah, the only way we do is by debit or credit card. And they're like, oh, thank the Lord. The last person I had to write out a check, I'm thinking in my mind, like, you're 70. I remember 4 years ago thinking, like, there's no way a 70-year-old person would want to give her a credit card. And she's like, yeah, I do all my bills online. It's just the best way. I'm like, okay, cool. I've heard that before. But going into it, I was like, yeah, there's no way anybody's going to do it over the age of 40, But I do think now now that we're in the technology age, everybody, they pay for their pizza with their credit card. So it's a little bit more common. I if you want my advice, dude, I highly recommend doing debit or credit cards because you could charge that card. You can charge, like when we're doing it, we're charging $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 worth of cards every week, and we get it 2 days later. So it is very nice.
Do you have to pay a fee for that, like on that whatever like you use?
Yeah, so we use Service Autopilot for the software program, and then the Service Autopilot hires another company specifically for charging. It's called Clearant, and yeah, they take 2%. So what I do is everything like that, but for jobs that are like $500 or more, like we've done like 4 or 5 jobs that are $1,000, $1,500 this spring. Well, we ask them for a check. Well, hey, can you give us a check? If they say no, charge the cards. Okay, I'm not going to argue with it, but if it's over $500, I try to ask for a check, because, it's just, they do take 2%, but the value of not having to write out a check or send invoices by paper or email, and then 15 days later they can pay, it's just the value of it is so worth it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Any other questions, man?
Yeah, I had one last question.
Yeah.
I guess it was actually my last one here. Like, what would probably be your advice? Like, with me hiring somebody, do you think it would be best to just like either this year or next year, whenever that time comes? I feel like I need to just to hire somebody like to ride with me and like just like weed eat or cut. You know what I'm saying? Like switch it out where if you can knock some yards out together, or kind of have it where I know the person's kind of doing the same thing I'm doing and just kind of having their own, just trailer mower and just going around cutting also.
Yeah. So what I think, if it was me, I would for sure, if you hire somebody first month and a half, they go with you. For sure. If not, they go with you the whole summer, because there's a couple of reasons why. First, you have to buy another truck and another trailer. If they go separate, you have to buy another truck, another trailer, another mower, like to split it up, right? More weed eaters, all that. So there is a cost there for one, but then for two, like he's not gonna care as much as you, right? It's your company, and eventually you're gonna have to, if you get big enough to where you want to get big enough, you're gonna have to trust somebody to go out on their own, okay? But the cost factor for one, and then two, like if you can mow 36 yards by yourself, I mean, you can mow 66, with somebody, know. And then the other reason why is like camaraderie, like having somebody with you every day, like just helps you go faster, right? You don't, for me, if I have to go to a yard and cut it, I have to mow, trim, edge, blow, 4 things. Well, if I'm with somebody, usually how it works out, at least with us, one guy's mowing, the other guy's doing the trimming, weed eating, and blowing, right? Or weed eating, edging, and blowing. And the next yard they switch. So like you just move faster. So if it was me, if you want my advice, I would just have him go with you and see if you can get to 65, 66 yards a week, where you're doing 15 a day, something like that. I don't know. What are you leaning towards? What would you say? What would you think?
I think it just kind of depends on the person I find, really, and then kind of the situation. Like, if I find a person who's kind of also cutting grass and they're kind of, maybe they're doing their own thing and they kind of just kind of want to, just kind of join me and but still kind of do their own thing. But then I can maybe get, a certain commission off the yards they do. You know what I'm saying? That way they're kind of still doing their own thing, but they are still my yards.
Yeah.
That I was thinking, but that would just be kind of a rare circumstance if I find the right person who actually I know cuts grass. Because you can say anybody can cut grass, but at the same time, it's like little small stuff like blowing clippings on somebody's vehicle, or we're not weeding little stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
The stuff you have to be pay attention to that somebody might not do if you just hire somebody who's never cut grass.
Yeah, and if you're gonna send somebody by themselves, it's got to be, unless it's someone unusual, but someone you don't know, you definitely want to go with them. Multiple weeks, right? Month. And then secondly is paying somebody by the hour, unless he's like a top-notch guy, right? Paying somebody by the hour to go by themselves, there's like no accountability there, right? Like there's no way for him to just sit at a yard for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, and just like be on his phone, right? Where if he has another guy with him, then there's accountability there. But where the accountability comes in, like you said, hey, a commission, right? Okay, so you have 30 yards that you have to do this week. You get 30% of these, right? You get, if we're bringing in $1,500 from these 30 yards, okay, well, you get 30%. It's $500. You can get them done in 4 days if you want to take 5 days or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, if you want to send somebody by yourselves, unless it's someone unusual, like I have a guy we send by himself sometimes. He's a top-notch guy. He's been working with us for 5 years. I have no doubt he doesn't sit on his phone for 15 minutes at a yard, But it's fine sending someone by themselves. I mean, there's a lot of companies who do that. But I think to balance that out, it's like finding a way to pay him by commission instead of hourly.
Yeah. So, like you said, like finding somebody possibly, and I think you mentioned earlier, somebody like at my church, so like a young kind of kid like me, just younger, like 4 or 5 years younger, who just wants a part-time kind of summer thing, help me out whenever he can, kind of deal.
Yeah. No, yeah, because
and I have got somebody help me with a pine straw job. There's like 150 bells at this house, and I got him to help me. I was like, "There's no way I can, So I'll get somebody to help me do occasional job, like landscaping job like that. But finding somebody, with that cutting grass would, definitely be an option for me.
Yeah, and those 36 yards, you're going to find out real quick that once you start getting like 30, 35, 40, 50, 60 yards, like all of those customers need pine straw, or not all of them, but some of them need pine straw. Some of them need their bushes done. Some of them need mulch. Some of them might need an aeration or all these little jobs that come up, and you're gonna run into a thing where, man, I'm gonna need somebody at least a couple days a week. Hey, some kid that's out of high school for the summer. Hey, would you want to help me to knock out some of these jobs so we can get done a little bit quicker? So yeah, you're gonna find that out real quick. Hey man, I appreciate you coming on, brother. I appreciate you joining me, dude. I think a lot of people learn something, because I think a lot of people are in your situation, and the sad thing is, I think it's 75%, 50% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. So I think a lot of people are in your situation where they just started and they're learning, maybe they took away one thing that helped. And I really do, man. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes, I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
You too.
All right, Logan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, man, the thing that stood out to me is pricing, right? He talked about, he's still learning pricing. And guess what? I'm still learning pricing. I misprice stuff. And now, less and less, 2-3 times a year, I misprice something. Man, I should have gone up in that. But learning the pricing, and the only way you're going to learn, you can watch so many YouTube videos on how to price, but you're going to get to a yard, and you're going to do it, and you're like, I didn't price enough. The next time, you're not going to make that mistake. So learning how to price over and over again, figuring out the best way for you to price. Not every way is the same. Not everybody has the same philosophy and same system. But for us, we look at a job and we say, how many man hours will that job take? Will it take you 5 man hours? Will it take 2 guys 3 hours? That's 6 man hours. Then how much are we charging per man hour? Are we charging $80 a man hour? Are we charging $100 a man hour? Are we charging $50 a man hour? And then you just do the math. If it's 6 man hours and you charge $80, can I do the math in my head real quick? It's $480, right? That's how much you should charge for just the labor. If there's mulch to be added, materials and plastic to put down, and a dump fee, you got to add all those things in too. But the labor is the hardest part, and you just got to look at this job. And like I said, sometimes you're going to look at it and you're going to say $6. I mean, you're going to think, hey, this is going to take a total of 6 man hours, and you're going to take 10. And you're going to be like, crap, I didn't make that much money. It's just a learning experience. It's all right. So that's the thing that stood out to me the most is pricing. I hope that helped. I hope this conversation helped. We are growing on YouTube. And I get it, man. I'm busy. Doing a podcast every week takes up time for me. And it's a little bit hard to record and get a phone call and get set up. But we haven't started mowing yet. Next week we start, and it's going to even be busier. And I'm so excited. I mean, we're ready to go. Like I said, we have about $2,500 more per week in mowing this year than last year. And we have more time. We have our crews are lined up. They've been with us for a couple years now. They are very good at what they do, so we are more efficient. And now I don't have to mow. I can focus on odd jobs. And now can I bring in $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 a week in odd jobs? So to make extra money and just to get team T-shirts, just to get our trucks painted, just to upgrade our trucks. It's not we are not a huge company, right? We have 3 crews, and our trucks don't look the same. Our trucks aren't painted. Our branding is not where we want it. But are we getting closer to that goal? Absolutely. When I took over from my company 3 years ago, I said 3 years from now, we need to be at where we can start to grow. We cut back all of this time. We said no to stuff. We dropped things and then replaced it. Dropped things and replaced it. Now we didn't. We only dropped maybe 25 individual yards. Last year we dropped $1,500, $2,000 worth of HOAs, and we had to replace it. Now we don't have to replace it. We're growing. So I hope you guys are excited as me. It's starting to get warm. It was actually 42 degrees today. Yesterday was 52. Tomorrow, Monday, is supposed to be 71. Northwest Indiana sucks for weather. But, hey, I appreciate you guys listening. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, the book of the week is a 4-hour work week. Have a good one.